All right, today we're looking at histograms, which is another way to graphically represent a data set. And we typically use histograms for very large data sets. So unlike yesterday's representation where we did dot plots, where we're representing a single data value, how many times it shows up in the data set, that's typically used for smaller data sets. We are going to be looking at an interval of data, intervals or a range of data values, which are going to be represented in each bar here, if you will. I'm going to call these bars bins. Each bin is going to have a certain grouping of data or numerical values, not just a single value. And then the frequency of occurrence is going to be how high the bar represents. So the more that data is represented, the higher the bar is going to be. So the vertical axis is our frequency. The horizontal axis is going to be our numerical data, again, set in bins of different intervals depending on how you set up your histogram. So let's do one. So to create one, first thing we have to do is, here's our data set. We got a bunch of numbers here. We got to look at what's the range of the data. So if I was looking at this data, it goes from the smallest number is 0, the largest number is 18. So now I just got to find a convenient number to break it down. So if I wanted to break it down into like 6 intervals, I'm thinking I could probably use 3. Well, actually, it's 18 to 0. I might be able to get away with 3s. I'm going to do it and have 6 bars, but I'm going to go with just 5 bars. And so I'm going to go intervals of 4. Intervals of 4. So number of cups of coffee, the fewest can be 0, because 0, some people don't drink coffee, right? So it could be 0. So 0 to 3 is our first bin or interval. All right, then 4 to 7, 8 to 11, 12 to 15, and then 16 to 19. So now we need to come up with a tally sheet or frequency, how many times these occur. So 0 to 3 cups of coffee, you got to look through your data and go, okay, how many times do I have 0 to 3? Well, I have 3, there's 1, and then I have the 0, that's 2. So that's how we got this frequency of 2. How about 4 to 7? 1, 4 to 7, 2, 3. That's how we got the 3. Ooh, 8 to 11. 8 to 11. All right, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh man, 8. So that's how you got the 8 there. Then 12 to 15, go through the data. There's a 12, 1, 13, 2, 15, 3. And then 16 to 19, we got the last 2 here. All right, so that's how we get the frequency. So now we have our bins, we have our frequency. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create the histogram. So to create it, we're going to start off with a horizontal line, and we're going to put our bins in. So we're going to go 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Okay, so the bins are, again, equal size each time. Each bin represents the same number of numerical values. So I put in here so you can see that 0 to 4, actually this bin only includes numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so when you see a bin, the number on the left is in that bin. The number on the right is not in the bin. We can't double count. So you can't have 4s be in this left bin and the right bin. No, no, no. It's only in the right bin. Okay, so that's how this is structured. And then the frequency, that's how high we're going to draw the bars. So since this was, 8 was our largest number, we can just scale by 1s. Sometimes the data is real large, goes to real large number of occurrences, so you might scale it by 5s or 10s or 50s or 100s or whatever you need to based on that data set. Okay, and we need to make sure we label your graph. So you should have a title. So this is cups of coffee consumed per week by teachers. The horizontal axis is your numerical data. So in this case, our numerical data represents cups of coffee per week, right? How many cups of coffee per week teachers are having. And then our frequency, we label that as the number of teachers that were surveyed that drink that many cups of coffee, okay? So now I want to, again, talk about these intervals here. These intervals, we're going to call these bins. So the bins are groups of 4 numbers. So this bin is all your numbers 0 to 3. This is 4 to 7. This bin is 8 to 11. This bin is 12 to 15. And this bin is 16 to 19. Well, notice that 20 is not included in our data set. 20 is not included in this bin. 20 would be this bin to the right, which we don't have in this example. And the bars should be side by side. There should be no spacing between the bars here when you do a histogram. Okay. All right. So now let's give an example of how we're going to read and analyze this. So, how many teachers drink 12 to 15 cups of coffee per week? Think about that. All right, 12 to 15. Well, that's this bin here. How high is it? It's 3. So our answer there would be 3 teachers. How many teachers drink 9 cups of coffee per week? Think about that answer. Well, isn't 9 in this bin? So do we say 8? No, we don't. When you just have the histogram, we know this represents how many are 8, 9, 10, or 11. All those numbers are in this bin. We do not know how many are 9 unless we actually had the data set that we can see. So when they ask us this question, if we're just given the histogram, this one would be, I'm going to say cannot be determined. I'm going to say CBD, cannot be determined because we don't know how many are just exactly 9 cups of coffee. We know 8, 9, 10, or 11 cups of coffee would be 8 teachers. All right. How many teachers drink less than 8 cups of coffee per week? All right. Good question. Less than 8. So then which of these are we talking about? Well, this bin here includes 8, right? This is going to be 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're talking about this bin plus this bin. So all you got to do is look at the frequency. 4 to 7 bin is 3 teachers, and the 0 to 3 was 2 teachers. So 3 plus 2 is 5 teachers. Okay. How many teachers were surveyed in this data set? Oh gosh, how are you going to figure that out? Well, doesn't that include all the bins? All the bins. So then we're going to go through and see, okay, what's the frequency? So we had 2 here, 3 here, 8 here, 3 here, and 2 here. So 2 plus 3 is 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. So that's 10 plus 8 is 18. So 18 teachers were surveyed. That's how many are represented in this data set.